We reach our daughter Annette's vacation home at La Pine just before dark, and we look out in the backyard and see an old doe deer out grazing around. This old doe deer has been here for years, and usually she always raises two fawns, although this year something has caught one of them, so she's still raising one. Has one now. We check inside the house and look at some of the pictures on the wall, and the old buffalo is still standing tall, watching after things in Annette's house. We check the bedrooms out, and everything seems to be a-okay. We'll spend the night, and then that'll give us a chance to get a good early start in the morning. As soon as the sun is up over the horizon, we're in our vehicle and heading out. We're steering toward Wyoming, although we'll make a few stops on the way. Past the lodgepole thickets along the highway between Bend and La Pine. We'll go into Bend, gas up, and then head for the desert. The lodgepole thickets of the east slope of the Cascade Mountains soon give way to the juniper forests of eastern Oregon. And from here on, it'll be nothing but grass and sagebrush. We turn on to Whitehorse Ranch Road, and from here on, it'll be a gravel road for a while till we turn off the graveled road onto a dirt road. By now, the Steens Mountains are in clear view in the background over a bunch of bunch grass. This area was one time sagebrush, and then a fire happened and burned it off. Past the old historic Whitehorse Ranch. Right near Whitehorse Ranch, a Great Basin gopher snake slithers his way to safety in the grass alongside the road. Our next night will be spent at Annette's teepee deep in sagebrush country, so we turn off Whitehorse Ranch Road and jiggle for about 7 miles through sagebrush. The road is somewhat rutted, but it has a very old easement on it, so that's what counts. They won't be able to shut it down. By looking carefully, you can still see the old military or Indian fighting road. It was supposedly built to keep the settlers safe in southeast Oregon during a period of time when there were Indian problems. Ahead of us, we see a white speck, and that white speck is Annette's teepee standing tall in the sagebrush flats. We pull up to the teepee, and all looks well so far. We'll park in the little parking lot that we cleared out by hand so that we wouldn't have to park on the sagebrush and the dry grass, and we'll open the door and go in and see that all is well. We go in and find that everything for a week at a time, and not a single car comes along the road. This is a very remote area. I open the teepee smoke flaps for ventilation, and as soon as the sun touches the horizon, we'll be bedding down in the teepee for the night. And then the next morning, at first light, it's time to get up and get to doing something. It looks like Marge isn't really ready to get up. Maybe gonna be a fight. A very friendly horned lizard is hidden in the grass, and he's relying on his camouflage to keep his location a secret. This is horned toad country, and they lurk around in the open areas around the base of the sagebrush to eat ants, and there's only one certain type of ant that strikes their fancy, but looks like he's eaten plenty of them. He's nice and fat. A leopard lizard lurks in an area right by an ant hill. I think he'd know what an ant tastes like if someone were to shove one down his throat. He's got a real long tail, and again, all those spots serve as camouflage, so he doesn't have to worry about being eaten by all sorts of things, coyotes or birds. And there's some very fresh horse tracks going across a playa right in the lower areas of Annette's property. Those horses must have been here just this morning, although we didn't see them. We next go to the hot springs and try it out. There's a hot side and a cool side, and we find the hot springs is in great. The cotton candy clouds are in the sky above, reflecting in the hot waters of Willow Creek Hot Springs, make it totally awesome. After the hot springs, we need to go check out Coyote Lake. We see the fins from a World War II practice bomb laying on the playa of the desert. We get on the playa and go for a little ride. I guess you can go as fast as you want on this playa, but we choose not to go very fast. What's the sense of being in a big hurry when you're out here? Then we take a look at the trail and the moving rock. These are the mysterious moving rocks that slide across the desert. Back to the teepee again, and so now we're closing the teepee down. I've got the smoke flap closed, and we're getting ready to head on out. We start our motor, and it's kind of hard to leave this beautiful place, but we're going to go on and see what else we can find this morning. Down the 2-track road and out to the main highways. After checking the BLM sign, we see that our destination is 36 miles down a jiggly rock road. A few desert cattle wander around in the desert. Next we'll stop at the Owyhee Canyon overlook to look at the canyon that the winding Owyhee River has carved out of sagebrush country and solid basalt. The river looks like a narrow ribbon way down below us, and it's just an ideal spot for Marge to take some pictures. From there we go on to where we're going to take the road down to Three Forks, and I think part of this road was built as the old military road as well, so it'll wind down, and the road was pretty good up to this point. Now it gets kind of rough and hard going. Our destination is down in the bottom of this canyon, and the road will switch back and forth and eventually go down, and then we can fish and camp, and also there's a hot springs, and this is where Three Forks of the Owyhee River run together. There's a few juniper on the hillside below us as we pass on the way down. We're going on a couple miles farther from where we could camp at the Three Forks of the Owyhee River, and we're going on up over a hill and then back down to the river where there's hot water comes cascading down off the mountain above. Down below us we can see the river and one of the old roads that were for wagon travel down below us. Then we go up on top of a hill and we can look directly across, and there's an old hand-built wagon road there as well. And at this point we see a fairly sizable waterfall. Matter of fact, there are waterfalls every place you look down here, and those waterfalls are all hot water coming right out of the mountain and cascading down to the Owyhee River. So we're going to go over and try one of these hot springs out. Right below us we see another hot springs coming out of the side of the river where we are, but we're going over where the big waterfalls is in a bigger flow. Several seep springs come out and trickle down across the road, and those are all hot water too. And this hot water nourishes the sunflowers and other things here. All that hot mineral water makes them grow real good and pretty. And the poison ivy is growing extra good right along the trail's edge. There's some real tall grass and all sorts of reeds growing along where these hot springs come out and then go down into the river. This grass is even taller than your head. Marge is kind of fascinated by the pretty seed stalks that are on top this grass that grow really tall along the trail down along the Owyhee River. And also there's some real nice cattails growing right along the edge of the hot springs. We arrive at the Owyhee River, and then we have to ford it on foot. But no problem, the water is only about a little more than knee deep, so it's real easy going, and the current isn't bad on the Owyhee River at this point. But we see a lot of fish scampering away from us as we cross the river. We'll walk up the old wagon road for a short distance, and we can see the waterfalls and rushing hot water right ahead of us. Then we come to the first pool. Some volunteers have made some pools in this hot springs. So now we have to climb down and get in. The gurgling hot water will give you a shower and a massage that you won't soon forget as it comes tumbling down from the mountain above into the pools. And so it's just bubbles and foam in the pools, and the temperature is absolutely perfect. That hot water gives you a feeling that you'll get no place else, and there's no spa in the world that would be as good as this. After being out in the dust in the desert, this is a welcome relief in the canyon of the Owyhee River. 100 gallons a minute come tumbling down, crashing into the pools and giving you a great massage on the way. We must look like drowned rats, but we're very relaxed and feeling real good. So I'm going to go up and get the pickup with our fishing gear in it. Marge didn't want me to drive down this last little bit of the trail, but I'm going to drive down it and because all of our fishing gear is in the pickup, and then we'll have everything down where we need it next to the river while we test the water and see if there's a nice big bass biting. Just easy does it, and you can ease down in the canyon. And we've got this kind of vehicle to do these things with, so we're going to do it. We certainly wouldn't need a vehicle like this just to drive into town and down the highways, so why walk when you can ride? Down through some little pools of hot water and across many a rock, and we'll be down to the Owyhee River pretty soon. Then down to the fertile valley of the Owyhee River and through the tall grass, and we'll find a good place to park and go down and test the water and see how the fishing's going to be. The tall grass dwarfs our little pickup as we ease down this little 2-track road. This was probably an excellent spot for a Stone Age man to gather food. Then we get to a little cleared off spot, and we'll just park here and go down to the river and see if it's good for a fish. There's a little hot creek flows right out of the mountain and dumps into the Owyhee River. So we'll just go stand in that warm water as it goes into the river, and wow, does that feel good while we're fishing. And when we get there, we find the fish are biting, and biting good. Every single cast we'd catch a fish, and sometimes we'd get one on and start bringing him in, and 2 or 3 more would be following him up to the bank. Just a little piece of night crawler seems to be the best thing you can use for bait. You just thread it on a plain hook. That's plain simple fishing like we used to do. And then cast it out into the warm waters of the Owyhee River, and it doesn't lay there long, and one will have it. One right after another, we pull them up onto the little sandy beach right next to where we're parked, and it won't take long and we'll have our limit, and then we can fillet them out and have a fish feed second to none. Looks like that guy's trying to get away from her, but she's got him. She rebaits, and yet another bite, and another and another. You're only allowed 5, so it takes you only about 5 minutes to catch your limit here. Those fish seem to lay right where the little hot springs comes into the river. I suppose that produces them lots of really good food. Lots of algae and bugs as well probably flow into the river. Then another and another, and Marge is going to have her limit here real soon. And that warm water feels so good right where it runs into the river, and it looks like Marge must have about her limit right there now. And then she'll hold both of our limits up, and we'll fillet them out and take them over to the cabin in Wyoming and cook them and eat them. Since the weather's real nice and warm here, we'll put our fish all in an ice chest full of ice, and that way they won't deteriorate any, and we can take them home and have us a really good feast. We spent the night on right down where the 3 forks run together. It's 2 miles below where the hot springs were. There's a real nice place where we like to camp, and then we can fish in the river. So the next day we're at it again, and the fish are biting down there as well. We're allowed 2 days limit, so we just as well catch our fish. Our tent is all set up and ready to go. And what a place to camp with the big cliffs all around us and the Waihe River in the foreground as it comes on it down through the canyon on its way to the Snake River and then to the sea. We had a great night right here in the willows next to the Waihe River, and the next morning we're up when the sun is just barely hitting the tops of the peaks around us, and we've got to get on our way. We're heading directly to Wyoming from here. A little steam rises off the Waihe River as we finish loading up our gear, and we're heading out. We can see the old military road as it winds its way up out of the canyon at the very first light of day. Then the sensor on the dash went off. It says you've got a flat tire. So we stopped alongside the road, and it's time to change a tire before we go on. But I have been out here numerous times, and I always bring at least 2 spares along, just in the event this happens. So it's just a matter of changing the tire and then going on. The tire had a small rock went right through the sidewall, so that means that if you take it to a tire shop, they won't be able to fix it. But you can put a plug in it yourself and fix it that way. But we had no water to see where the leak was, so as we were passing through Boise, we stopped at Costco and had it fixed, and we got a new tire, only this time we got a good heavy one that this won't happen to again. On our way out along the Owyhee Desert, we see some cowboys moving cattle out across an endless sea of sagebrush. After the cowboys, we see numerous sage grouse, one of the symbols of the West. Our largest grouse we have, and they live right out in the sagebrush country. They eat a lot of the grass seeds and buds off the sagebrush. From the Waihe country, we went into Boise and had our tire fixed, and our next stop is Horse Trader Hot Springs. We walk down the very short path from the highway and find the springs. It's an ideal springs. The temperature is perfect and it's nice and deep. The only trouble with it is it's really close to the highway, and sometimes kooky people come down there. But there's no one here today, so it looks like it's going to be really nice. And here comes Marge. We just get in the spring and we hear hoof. We look up and see a wagon pulled by 6 mules heading down the road. We heard the clatter of hooves, and I don't know what the purpose of this is, and they're hauling 3 wagons behind it. It looks like those are pretty small mules for that, but mules are tough. I heard nothing about this wagon, and I have no idea how far they've been on this journey, but it looks like the mules are still pretty pert. Their ears are up good. Things is even deep enough for a limited amount of swimming, and the water in it is just absolutely second to none.